What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. Now, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also follow me. I'm on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, currently on my Instagram account. Now, Kell Brook, he did an interview. I can't air it on the channel on YouTube for copyright reasons, so I don't want to hear any crying comments, oh, just play the video. I can't for copyright reasons. However, I put it on my Instagram account, so stop being lazy. Link in the description. Click on that if you want to hear it. And Kell Brook, he talks about a few things that I want to rebuttal in this particular video. Now, they were asking him clearly about his last fight, first ever career loss to Gennady Golovkin, and he was saying at the time he was bothered with the stoppage because he's a fighter and he wants to keep going, and that's just his instinct or nature. He said, but after speaking with his doctor, it was the right decision, because he said the doctor told him that if he kept taking significant punches to the face, to that eye, and that eye kept being targeted, then there's a chance he could have went blind, which, I mean, it's not rocket science. If you have a fracture and someone keeps applying pressure to that, then, I mean, what do you think will happen? So it's not really anything that we didn't know. And this is exactly why, if you listen to all of my post fights, some people are like, man, that bullshit stoppage. You never heard me say that. I never said it was a BS stoppage. I said, yeah, you could be selfish and what happens and what would have happened. But I was okay with the stoppage just because he was pawing at his eye repeatedly. Clearly, there was something wrong. I mean, even in, like, let's say Nonito Donaire versus Guillermo Rigondeaux, his eye was bothering him, and if this was back in the day where it was a 15-rounder, then Donaire probably would have got stopped because he was seeing doubles. He was holding one hand, one glove over his eye. You know what I mean? When you see a fighter's body language like that, not necessarily good. And his legs looked like they were stiffening up. We know Golovkin got cracked, so I never really had a problem with the stoppage. It was a shame that it had to end in that fashion. No knockdowns, not the traditional stoppage from a ref, or, you know what I mean, a knockout or whatever, but it is what it is. And the doctor just confirmed what we already knew, that it could have got a whole lot worse if he kept taking blunt force trauma to that eye. He also talks about what he's going to do. He says when he gets back to training, he might go back to 154. He feels that's a better fit for his body. He said possibly fight Canelo. He said he would love that fight. Canelo's a big fight. He watched the Liam Smith fight and he wants the Canelo fight, right? HBO has expressed interest in that fight as well. He says, but once he gets back to training, when he's all cleared medically to get back to training, maybe he goes back to 147 because he's a title holder there. And I want to talk about it. My thoughts, I don't think he's going back to 147, because you have to look at it. Errol Spence Jr. is looking like a beast, like a monster, like his nickname, The Truth. And if HBO is expressing interest in a Canelo fight, you're clearly going to make more money with Canelo than you would with Errol Spence Jr. Plus, I think fighters are, like, Kell Brook's a skillful fighter. He's not like a one-dimensional fighter. So I think he realizes that, I'm not saying Canelo's a cherry pick or easy, but the fact is he has a loss on his record. We've seen, even outside of his loss, like the fight with Erislandy Lara, we see what troubles Canelo. We see what gives him problems. So to me, there's more of a blueprint to defeat a fighter like Canelo. We know he has slow feet. We know if you provide movement and outbox him, he can be beat. But as of right now, we do not know Errol Spence Jr. his ultimate kryptonite, because based on the level of competition he's had and the step-up names like Algieri and Bundu, I mean, he's blowing through those guys. So he's more of a high risk, low reward, as opposed to Canelo, who's this A side, and, you know what I mean, you already have HBO talking about they want this fight, you're gonna make more money. So I really see Kell Brook pushing for this, and I told people this would be the case. I mean, we'll see. We'll wait to see. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and I'll make updated videos. But I don't see him. He said he was killing himself to make 147, and it was hard on his body. I don't see him dropping back down after purposely gaining all that weight for the Golovkin fight and then dropping back down and having to do that in training camp, and then on top of that to fight a guy like Errol Spence Jr., who we don't, again, know an immediate blueprint to beat. I don't see that being the case or likely. So I think his belt is going to get vacated, and he'll probably push for a fight at 154, if not Canelo. Now, this is going to shock some people. For me, I'm not even too keen on Kell Brook versus Canelo, and I'll tell you why. Yes, it would probably be entertaining. Yes, I would watch it. Of course, I'm a boxing fan. But I'm getting sick and tired of the boxing shenanigans, right? What I mean by that is you had Amir Khan, who only had 3 fights at welterweight. He was on a year-plus layoff when he fought Canelo. From his last performance with Algeria, which wasn't Amir Khan's strongest performance, he decides to move up, dare to be great, and fight Canelo at 155, no rehydration clause, knowing that he has chin issues and Canelo's heavy-handed, good combination puncher, things of that sort. Then the inevitable happens, what we all knew would happen. He gets knocked out worse than any career knockout. You know what I mean? Worse than Bradis Prescott, Danny Garcia, because he was at least awake for those knockouts. You know what I mean? He was just out cold for a minute in the Canelo knockout, like we expected. Then you have Triple G versus Brook. Similar thing. Triple G criticized Canelo for it, and then he fought a welterweight. You can say Kell Brook has a better chin, more skill, whatever. It's still a welterweight with limited experience above 147 and no experience at the actual 160. And if he did fight someone at 160, it wasn't a champion like Golovkin. You know what I mean? On a 23 knockout tear or whatever. So I'm just getting sick of it, because you look at those 2 fights, what it should have been is the fight we really wanted, Kell Brook versus Amir Khan, a great domestic fight that would definitely sell in the United States, that fans wanted, that there's some bad blood and a good storyline, good build-up. Kell Brook would probably make as much money fighting Amir Khan in the UK as he made with Triple G, but probably more, because that would be 2 domestic UK British fighters with known bad blood. So I think he would make more money in that fight, and that's not the fight we got. They went their own ways, and the other fight was Canelo and Triple G. That's the other fight we want. So it's kind of like musical chairs or something, where the fights aren't happening, the fights that we want. Kell Brook, again, could have dared to be great and fought Errol Spence. He could have fought Amir Khan. To his credit, it looked like he was pushing for the fight with Amir Khan, and Amir Khan was kind of coming up with different things he didn't want. But nonetheless, it just doesn't make sense. Another thing is, I think if you want to dare to be great, why not move up 1 division, which is very customary. You know what I mean? I've seen guys like Terrence Crawford, when he probably had trouble making weight at 135, plus there wasn't that many great names at 35, so he moves up to 140. That's okay. That makes sense. You know what I mean? Kell Brook could have did that. If you want to fight Canelo so bad, you should have fought him first, then the winner gets Golovkin. You know what I mean? At least that would be more of a gradual process of you going up in weight, instead of just jumping from 147 to 160. So that's why I'm not big on it. And I know HBO and stuff, they would push this. Again, it would be an entertaining fight, but I'm sick of seeing these A-side guys not dare to be great. You know what I mean? The Canelo, dare to be great and fight Golovkin. Move up 5 pounds and fight Golovkin. You know what I mean? If Golovkin can't get that fight, or Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs, then let's see Golovkin dare to be great and move up to 168 like everybody, Mayweather, Robert Garcia, and all these, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones, all these people is telling them. You're not getting any younger. Golovkin's not getting any younger. So it's just, I'm getting sick of this with boxing, where they're doing this and making these fights that really don't make any sense. This is really becoming a problem. Like, I made a video, 7 reasons Gennady Triple G Golovkin beats Kell Brook, and I did it before the fight, 18,000 views. This was no surprise to myself and many other people. You could say, oh, Kell Brook was banging with them and he was backing him up. He did good. He did good in spots, but he still lost, which is the end result. You know what I'm saying? You look at Canelo versus Liam Smith, the end result was he still lost. You know what I mean? And that was exactly what we expected to be, a one-sided beatdown. You know what I'm saying? Where it wasn't competitive. Canelo was showcasing what he can do, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? There was no, it was just one-sided beatdown, right? So I'm sick of these fights where we already can immediately tell you what the outcome is going to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not hard to predict that Liam Smith didn't have the world-class, world-level experience to beat a guy like Canelo. Plus, Canelo does great if you bring the fight to his front door. If you just come in a straight line, come at him in his wheelhouse, you'll probably get tore up. You probably get chopped up. You got to do something a little bit more strategic, some head movement, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Kell Brook jumping up all these weight classes, Amir Khan jumping. I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of boxing giving us this when they could give us what we really want and things that make sense. You know what I mean? Kell Brook getting his eye. You notice he's never sustained an injury that I know of quite like this until he decided to do this with his career and jump up all these weight divisions. So again, I'm not big on the Canelo versus Brook. Again, we'll all watch it because, you know what I mean, that's just what it is. But I'm not big on it. Let's see. I'm tired of seeing Canelo fight guys who are smaller than him. You know what I mean? I could think of off the top of my head a ton of guys that were drastically smaller than Canelo, like Cotto, Shane Mosley, Floyd Mayweather, Josecito Lopez, right? So if we're trying to see who's the best of the best of the bunch and stuff, then continually fighting smaller guys like Kell Brook, you know what I mean? Let him make some noise at 54, or beat Errol Spence or something, and then move up to 54. You know what I mean? Prove you're the best at 147 before you try to face it. But now that's not what the current state of boxing is. It's just, oh, this is a good big money fight, so we'll make it. And you know what I mean? Even if we're jumping in line, so to speak, and it doesn't make sense. Same thing with Golovkin. I'm sick of him fighting like competition that we know. Like Danny Jacobs, if he fights him, I give him props for that. That's a good fight. Once beaten guy with power who's been looking good recently and has a version of your belt. That's good. But I mean, Dominic Wade, that's a mandatory no one had heard of. Kell Brook jumping up all these weight classes. Guys like Adama, guys like Rosado and Ashita moving up from 54. Those fights, I mean, I'm want to see the fights that actually mean something. You know what I mean? Canelo, if he beats Kell Brook after Golovkin just stopped him, you know what I mean? That doesn't really mean nothing. I don't know if Kell Brook belongs at 154 or how good he could be at 54. We'd have to wait and see. Again, it could be a good stylistic fight, but I want to see Canelo fight this man, Gennady Golovkin. I want to see Kell Brook and Amir Khan, Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. Those fights make plenty of sense, but now in boxing, that's not what we're getting. We're getting these circus match, dare to be great, and people like skipping in line. Just go stay the regular course. So we'll see. Right now, Kell Brook's not coming back to anything because he has to rest up, heal his eye, and make sure he comes back. And that's the other thing. Kell Brook, you don't want to be in a situation. I've seen this time and time again, and I'm not comparing Kell Brook's skill set or ability. He probably can bounce back. But guys like Mike Alvarado, people forget it wasn't that long ago that guys like Mike Alvarado and Brandon Rios were being praised. They look like people were saying, oh, this guy, Brandon Rios, he run through John Murray, and Mike Alvarado's beating up on Bradis Prescott. They were saying Alvarado was one of the top dogs at 140. You know what I mean? And fast forward to too many wars and too many battles of attrition in a small, short period of time, right? And now people don't look at Alvarado or Rios as top contenders anymore because it's like they're daring to be great and taking on tough fight. Same thing with Robert Guerrero. He's another person. He jumped up all this weight, and you know what I mean, he's taken beat down by Floyd, then Keith Thurman, then Danny Garcia. Now he's losing to guys that were literally a taxi driver. Like David Peralta, he admitted that he was going to quit boxing because he wasn't getting any fights or making enough money, and he was a taxi driver in Argentina. You know what I mean? And I don't care to see guys have these, like, for the quick buck, for the quick payday, them take all these fights that make a lot of money, but they don't make a lot of sense. And then if they lose it, then their career's in shambles. Like if Kell Brook, coming off of a loss, goes in there and gets knocked out by Canelo, I mean, his career, this is not the UFC. If you have 2 losses and they're both by stoppages, people are gonna be like, oh, he was overrated, he's a bum. I mean, he's not. If he fights Canelo, he's not going to have his belt at 147. So I don't like to see that. I like to see people do what's smart with their career. Like Amir Khan, if he's coming back, he's probably going to take a tune-up before he fights Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? That's smart. Pacquiao fought Brandon Rios coming off a loss after Marquez knocked him out. That's smart. You got knocked out brutally. You know what I mean? Why would you immediately fight Floyd Mayweather after Marquez just knocked you out? You know what I mean? Build yourself back up a little bit. And that's really what I like Kell Brook. So I want to see him climb back up the ladder. Stop just taking these, because you got a taste of a big money fight and a big payday. You're trying to take a Canelo fight. And, you know what I mean? That's a dangerous fight for Kell Brook, because he's coming off the loss. Yeah, stoppage. Canelo's never been stopped. You know what I mean? Kell Brook might be able to beat Canelo. I don't know. But to me, it's not worth it to not take the fights you're supposed to take. You know what I mean? Because if Kell Brook fought Amir Khan, I think Amir Khan has less of a chance to stop him than Canelo does. You know what I'm saying? So it's a dangerous fight, and people in this day and age of boxing, to me, are very quick to sell out their record, like meaning they'll take a fight or do something that's nonsensical with their career for a big payday. And I think there's good options out there for Kell Brook. I think based on how he performed versus Golovkin and his style of fight and things, what he showed that night, I think there's other great fights out there for him. And then work yourself back into contention. And then if Canelo's still, you know what I mean, a big name and stuff, then fight him when it makes sense. But I'm not for this whole musical chairs and Khan jumping up to fight him and Triple G. It just doesn't make sense. And again, like I said before, when will one of these fights pay off? When is the Liam Smith gonna beat the favorite? When is Kell Brook gonna beat the guy favored to beat him? When is Amir Khan gonna beat the guy he's daring to be great and jumping up all these weight classes for? You see what I'm saying? It's becoming far too predictable, right? I've seen regular fights and unpredictable things happen, like Andres Fanfara versus Joe Smith Jr. randomly. You know what I mean? A lot of people thought Leo Santa Cruz would beat Carl Frampton, and then that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? So they're taking away a lot of the mystique and enigma and mystery with boxing by making matches that we all know the outcome. You know what I mean? Liam Smith, I mean, unless you were British or one of the Smith brothers or something, most people really weren't picking him. But if you put Canelo versus Triple G, that's a great fight. It's gonna be split. You know what I mean? Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade, it's gonna be split, right? People aren't gonna know who to pick. You're gonna have fans on both sides, because those are all great fights. Let me know what you guys think of Kell Brook, and where should he go next? Do you think he'll vacate? Do you think he'll fight Errol Spence Jr.? Do you think he'll push for the Canelo fight? Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.